Greetings and welcome to week 12. This week we're going to look at the Millennium Development Goals. Through the course of the semester we have discussed theoretical issues, we've discussed security issues, we've discussed economic issues. The Millennium Development Goals in the last 4 weeks of the course are going to largely be devoted to humanitarian goals and to the quality of life of people around the world, both rich and poor, and the steps that the international community and international institutions are taking to try to alleviate the suffering of those less fortunate. In 2000, the United Nations put out the Millennium Development Goals, and it's a list of 8 goals that focus on, as I said before, humanitarian issues, and they lay out steps to solve those issues in order to reach a goal by 2015. For example, you're going to study this week the first Millennium Development Goal, which is ending extreme poverty and hunger. And the goal is to halve the number of people living in extreme poverty, and that is defined by people living under $1 a day, or now under $1.25. So somewhere in there, but certainly under $1.25 per day. So how do you go about having that? And then the big question of the week is, why is it so hard to affect positive change in the international system? With all the wealth that we have in the world, and with the interconnectedness, and with the amount of information, we know people are suffering, we know why. Why can't the international community work together to solve these problems once and for all? So, you will learn about the first 2 Millennium Development Goals this week. You will assess progress of the United Nations in reaching those goals, and then you will wrestle with that question. Why is it so hard to affect positive change in the international system? And then a related question is, what are the barriers in the international system to meeting the Millennium Development Goals by 2015? Aside from the Millennium Development Goals, we're going to look at another issue that plagues the international system, this time from a security standpoint, but we're going to look at specifically a region of Sudan called Darfur. The situation in Darfur has deteriorated over the first decade of the 21st century, and many, especially from 2004 to 2007, 2008, called what was happening in Darfur genocide. So, this isn't the first time that genocide has happened. As you know from your study of history, we've had recorded genocide in the 20th century in places like Armenia, of course the Holocaust in Cambodia, in Rwanda, in the former Yugoslavia, and each time the international community after the fact says this can never happen again. Yet what Darfur is showing us is that it always seems to happen again. So we'll ask the same question: why can't the international community stop? Why can't they agree on stopping grave violations of human rights, grave violations against humanity, and genocide at the very worst end of the spectrum? Why can't we get it done? The final point we're going to look at this week is an idea to solve a situation like Darfur, and really this idea came out of what happened in the former Yugoslavia and then what is happening in Darfur, and the idea is an important one, and it's a groundbreaking one. It's called the responsibility to protect. The idea of the responsibility to protect, it flips one of our fundamental concepts. It flips the idea of sovereignty. Sovereignty was seen since Westphalia as a privilege. What happens in our borders, in the borders of a state, is the sole business of the government of that state. But responsibility to protect, or R2P as it's become known, changes that, and it says the government of a sovereign territory has the responsibility. So sovereignty now isn't just a privilege, it's a responsibility. Has the responsibility to protect the people within its borders. And if it either cannot protect the people within its borders, or in the case of Darfur, the government is actively harming its own citizens, then sovereignty is forfeited. And the responsibility then falls on the international community. So, Darfur, international community stepped in to a degree. Last year at this time, NATO was leading an air campaign against Colonel Gaddafi in Libya. And R2P was one of the reasons given to justify the attacks, that there was going to be a slaughter of civilians, and therefore the NATO had to step in and protect those civilians. So it seemed like R2P was gaining traction. But now in Syria, very clear violations by the government of the human rights of and the well-being of the citizens of Syria, some of the citizens. Why is the international community standing by? Why is there not action being taken in Syria to stop the killing? A lot to wrestle with. The three essential questions that you want to: why is it so hard to change, to affect positive change in the international system? What are the barriers to change into reaching the Millennium Development Goals that the international community faces? 3, why Libya, not Syria, when it comes to responsibility to protect? Also, you will have the 21 countries of Eastern Europe on your exam, which will not be, very important, until Monday, May 7th, because next week is a shortened week. So, though your homeworks will be due on Tuesday, May 1st, for this week, week 12, and we will begin week 13 on Tuesday, May 1st, we will not meet again until Monday, May 7th. I wish you a good 4-day weekend. I wish you a good week, and I look forward to hearing your voices online. Take care.